shouldn't be hard. Life should be a fun-filled adventure every day. So now start joining up dots. Tap into your talents, your skills, your God-given gifts, and tell your boss, you don't deserve me. I'm out of here. It's time for you to smash that alarm clock and start getting the dream business and life you, well, of course, are dreaming of. Let's join your host, David Ralph, from the back of his garden in the UK, or wherever he might be today, with another jammed-packed episode of the #1 hit podcast, Join Up Dots.
Yeah, good morning everyone, and welcome back to Join Up Dots, the show where we help you move on. We help you move on to where you want to be. If you want to have a life sitting on a beach, sipping a cocktail, then it's all there for you. But if you want one that's just under your own terms and you wake up every morning and you do what you want, it's there as well. It's building lives that actually work. Now, before we dive into today's episode, this has been sort of led from the last episode. So if you haven't listened to the last episode, stop here, go back and listen to that one, and then come back to here, because I got an email from a listener this morning, John Hargreaves in Lincolnshire, United Kingdom, and he reached out after listening to the last episode, and he made a very good point. And he said, David, you talked about how starting isn't the hardest part to everything, that actually the real challenge is continuing when the results aren't obvious yet. But I'm wrestling with the next step. If I keep going, how do I know when I'm just grinding away at something that's never going to work? How do I actually know when to pivot or stop? Now, it's a bloody good point. It really is. And I think that is it's the question, isn't it? Because there's two ways to fail as an entrepreneur or somebody starting something new. There's the mistake of quitting 6 months before you hit the jackpot. And then there's also the mistake of spending 6 years walking down a road that was never going to take you to where you want to go. You've just been on the wrong destination. So we're going to get into that. We're going to start talking about the difference between patience and denial. And in many ways, I'm on both of those, and I will give you some examples where I've done both of those. So let's look at persistence first, because persistence is one of those things that is, you hear it everywhere. I've got a poster up in Join Up Dots HQ that says, with ordinary talent but extraordinary persistence, everything is achievable. And I look at it and I think, yeah, that's absolutely true. But is it? Because the sort of never quit, winners never quit, just keep grinding. It does sound inspiring on a poster, but in reality, it's not the full message, because you got to look at it from a wider sense. Imagine you're driving from London up to Manchester to see some friends, and you missed the junction, and suddenly you're heading down towards Cornwall, which is totally different direction for people in the rest of the world. Would you just keep driving for 10 hours just because you've already invested 3 hours into the drive? You wouldn't, would you? You would think, you would turn around. You wouldn't think, I put so much time into this direction, I better just keep going until I hit the ocean. You'd pull over, you'd look at the map, you'd pop into a petrol station, you check your sat nav and adjust your route. But in business, we treat changing direction like it's a failure. But it's not. We call it quitting, and we tell ourselves we're being persistent when actually we're just being stubborn. Changing direction can actually be the smartest thing you'll ever do. Giving up on yourself is something else entirely, but changing your strategy, that's just business. Now, with Join Up Dots, when I started it, I was doing 7 days a week. Then I moved to 3 days a week, and I've been pondering recently whether I should keep going at 3 days a week, whether it's better to have, 7 days a week again or whatever. You've got to know what your audience is really asking. You've got to know what your customer is really asking and work from that point. Because most people don't quit because the business failed. They quit because they haven't asked the right questions, and they are constantly in the grind stage. They hit that middle period, that long, boring stretch where they're showing up. In my case, they're recording podcasts, or they're making products, or they're writing emails or whatever, but nothing is happening. Okay. And when you start a new business, there's not going to be fireworks. More often than not, there's not going to be viral growth. There's no massive influx of cash. It's just another day. It's just another Tuesday. So to answer John's question, we need to break this down into 3 separate different states. And these are the sort of states of business that most people confuse. First of all, there's the grind. This is the work that is repetitive. It's boring. The results are slow, but you're still learning. And you are getting those little signals that something is happening. You're still moving forward. And if you're in the grind stage, and there's little clues around you that things are going your way, you just need to keep going. I think you just need to keep working through the grind. But if you hit the plateau, this is different. This is where nothing's happening. You've stopped improving. You're repeating the same actions over and over. You're no longer experimenting. Nothing's changing. And it's not changing because you're not changing. And in this case, you shouldn't quit, but you must change your approach. So that's the first 2. But then you've got the dead end. You've tested, you've listened, you've adapted, and you've improved. You've given it all the time you can, yet the evidence keeps pointing in the same direction. It's not going anywhere. And this is the moment it might be time to pivot. Okay. So the first one is you just got to keep working through the grind. The second one, if it's on the plateau, you've got to think of a new way of doing things. It's down to you to become the new version of the business more than just plowing through the same things you're doing all the time. And the last one, dead end, yeah, it's not going anywhere. So you've got to make a decision at that point. Now, a lot of the time in Join Up Dots, we talk about success. And success is sexy. Success is, oh, yeah, look at him. But most of the time, it isn't glamorous. It's often really repetitive. The people who win aren't always the smartest, but they're often the ones who make peace with that repetition, and they stop looking for the constant excitement. They just keep looking for consistent progress. Yeah. So you've got to be a realist. You've got to look at it and say to yourself, right, let's really look at what's happening here. When was the last time I've seen some results? When was the last time money's come into my bank account? When was the last time a customer gave me feedback? You know, all these kind of things, and assess it with, am I actually getting better? Is the business getting stronger? Am I building something worthwhile? They're the 2 things you've got to look at, okay? And if you do that, then I think that's the answer that you're looking for, John. Because, you know, there's that gardener's analogy, isn't it? That you think of a gardener who plants 20 seeds and some grow and some don't. But does the gardener abandon it and decide he's failed his garden? No, he just looks at them and thinks, okay, they didn't grow it, and he plants more and he waters differently and he moves the plants out of the sunlight, and, you know, he does things. He learns why it didn't work and he goes again. Business should feel much more like gardening than gambling. Gamblers either win or lose, but gardeners observe, they adjust, and they repeat. And sometimes we're digging for gold, but the skill isn't just digging forever. It's recognizing when you're digging in a gold field or a multi-story car park. Yeah, one deserves your patience and the other deserves a new shovel and a different location. And I don't think people ask the right questions at the right time. So How do you ask the right questions at the right time? I think that every few months in your business, I think you should ask yourself 3 specific questions. Number 1, am I improving? Forget the money for a moment, but are you becoming better at what you do? Are you more confident? Are you more knowledgeable, more efficient? Skills take time, but skills compound. And the better you become at something, income usually follows later. So if you're growing something valuable in yourself, then you've answered that question, that you are improving and it's worth keeping going. But then, is the market talking back? That's the second question. And this doesn't always mean sales. People are opening your emails, someone leaves a comment, a customer asks a question, someone shares your work. Those little signals matter. If there's total silence, that is a sign you need to change something. And the last one, and I know this better than anything, is, does this still give me energy? Because let's be honest, every job has its boring bits. I've gone through join up dots where sometimes I'm really engaged with it, and other times I think, I just feel a bit flat. But if every single day feels like you're dragging yourself uphill, you need to pay attention. The best businesses aren't just profitable, they're sustainable, and they fuel you. They give you the lifestyle that you want. If your business steals your enthusiasm every day, eventually it will steal your consistency, and you'll just sort of turn up and go through the motions. And I promise you, there has been times when I have certainly been like that. So the heart of the matter, John, is, are you being patient, or are you simply refusing to face the evidence? There's a huge difference. Patience says, I can see signs that this is moving in the right direction. And denial says, I've ignored every sign because I desperately want this to work. One is wisdom and the other is just wishful thinking. I think that's how to answer that. So maybe the real lesson isn't never quit. Maybe it's something like, don't quit on your future, but also don't become so attached to one particular route that you miss a better one. Because as I said, success rarely belongs to the people who never change. It belongs to the people who keep learning, keep adjusting, and keep listening. Okay. So tomorrow morning, when you sit down to do exactly the same work you've been doing for weeks, ask yourself one question. Am I bored? Am I stuck? Because boredom is often the price of mastery, but being stuck is usually an invitation to learn something new. Okay. So I think that's how to answer that question. Really assess it. Look at yourself. Am I improving? Am I at a dead end? Am I getting feedback? Does it still give me energy? And if it doesn't, then it's time to pivot. Okay, so John, thank you so much for that. Let's give you a round of applause because you took the time and the energy to do that. Just know the difference. And if you're staying in the game long enough to succeed, if you're on the right road, basically. Okay, so until next time, keep joining up the dots, keep learning from every step you take, and remember that progress isn't measured by how long you've been walking, it's measured by whether you're actually walking in the right direction. Okay, so until next time, you look after yourselves, everybody. Any questions, like John sent, joinupdots@gmail.com, and until then, we'll be building more content for your earbuds. But until that time, we'll see you again. Okay, look after yourselves. Cheers. See ya. Bye-bye.